Hi, welcome back to the Bodcast game channel. In this episode I wanted to talk about a relatively new game from Czech Games Edition called Goblins Inc. The game is designed by Filip Nudek, and I think this is his first game. When you first open this game and start picking through it, there's a lot of similarities to Galaxy Trucker. It's a construction game, but instead of constructing a spaceship, you're constructing a robot. I think if you like that game, you're going to like this one too. But do you know what? I think I prefer Goblins Inc. because there seems to be a lot more strategy involved, especially during the construction and the way that you play different cards. These robots are going to do battle, and the robot who survives the best is the winning robot. It's a game for 2 to 4 players, but fundamentally it's either a 2-player game or 2 teams of 2, constructing your robot and doing battle. But rather than talk about gameplay, why don't I crack open the box, show you what it's all about, and actually walk through a few turns. Each player in the game is going to play one of these goblins. You've got 4 colours: green, red, yellow, blue, and you're going to join up with a partner. But here's the catch: although it's a team game, if you're playing 4 players, there's actually 2 rounds, and during the first round you pick up one of these team cards, and this shows you which 2 players are going to play on the same team. So in this case we have blue and red versus green and yellow, but then for the second round you choose another one of the remaining 2 random cards. So we may pick this one, and it says for the second round it'll be blue and yellow versus red and green. So you can see that the way it works is you've got to play the best you can for your team during round 1, the teams switch up for round 2, and then you have to play the best as you can in your new team, and the overall winner is the player who's performed best across both rounds. The other catch is that although you and your partner are looking to beat the other team's robots, each player has a set of cards called hidden agendas, and you're going to take a small number of these, and we'll explain them when we get into the game. But what it means is that you, secretly from your partner and secretly from your opposing teams, will have your own agenda in terms of how you're going to score points when the robots are battling. So although you're in a team of 2, you're also competing against your partner with your secret hidden agendas. There's variants for 3 players and 2 players too, but what I'll do is I'll give you a little rundown on how the regular 4-player game works. So let's set up as if we're playing a 4-player game. So the first thing we'll do is we'll grab at random one of these team cards. So you can see red and yellow for round 1 are joined up against green and blue. Each team takes one of these construction yard boards. That's the first thing we're going to do. So we'll put red, yellow here, green and blue over here on the right. And then each team draws one of these blueprint cards. So let's give red, yellow this one, green, blue this one. So each of these blueprints is going to give a great name for your robot. Red, yellow have the Robosaur. Green, blue have the Mecha Ball. And what you do is you look at your blueprint, and these scribbled squares are squares that you can't build on. So if we look at green, blue's Mecha Ball here, they can't build on any of these 4 corner squares. And the game gives each player a couple of spare goblins. I'm going to use those to mark off those squares to show that you can't build on them. It doesn't matter whose goblin you put in which corner. And the red-yellow team is going to do the same for Robosaur. Okay. Each player is then going to get dealt 7 of their hidden agenda cards. So 7 for red and 7 for green. And you're going to keep these secret from all of your opponents. Let's have a look at a set of one of these hidden agendas. This is what the red player's been given, and they're going to build a robot together with the yellow player, and they're going to be mindful of the hidden agendas that they've got. There's 2 types of hidden agenda cards, and we'll have a quick look at red players and understand the types of things that you're presented with. These brown ones, they're destructive agendas, and with these you're going to score points for knocking stuff off your opponent's robot. Pyromaniac, for example, is going to give you 2 points for every 3 weapons that you destroy from your opponent's robot. Berserker here is going to give you 1 point for every 3 tiles that you destroy from your opponent's robot. These blue ones are defensive agendas. These are going to score you points for tiles attached to your own robot, so things that survive on your robot at the end of the round. Decoy here is going to give you 2 points for every defense token left on your robot. Metalhead, 2 points for every premium tile on your robot. We're going to understand what these things mean when we start looking at how we build our robots. There's a third type of agenda, and that's the betting agenda, and this one's a bit sneaky. Before the battle commences, you can bet on whether you think your team will win or whether you think your team will lose. The next stage of the game is where we actually start to build our robots. And remember, when you're building your robot, you need to keep in mind your hidden agendas. You want to try and protect the things on your robot that is going to score you points, and encourage your opponents to build things on their robot that you can destroy and score you points. When you're building your robots, you're using these construction tiles, and you're placing these in your construction yard, and that becomes your robot. And there's 4 types of construction tile. There's tiles which represent weapons. There's tiles which represent armour. There's tiles which represent engines for your robot. And then there's tiles which do nothing but provide decoration. The armour tiles, they're going to protect your ship from damage that your opponents throw at you. The weapons, those are the things that you're going to use to attack your opponent's robot. Engines, they're going to allow you to manoeuvre your robot, so you can turn your robot into a position to attack. Decoration tiles, well, they just look cool. For the start of the game, all these construction tiles are going to be face down in the centre of the board, and you're going to give them a good old shuffle. Also, during setup, you're going to place your scoring board where all players can reach it, and each player is going to start on the 0 spot. The scoring track goes all the way up to 50, but the scores can go higher than that. So each player also gets one of these cards to show whether they're on 0 to 50 or 50 plus. So when your score goes above 50, you'll just wrap round back to 0 and turn your scorecard over to show that you're 50 plus now. Now we get to planning and building our robot. During this stage of the game, there's no talking to each other. Alright, you've got to do this quietly, working together, silently, with your own hidden agendas in the back of your mind. So one of you will be the planner, and one of you is going to be the builder. So let's assume that the yellow player is the planner and the red player is the builder for the red and yellow team. And let's say on the blue-green team, green's going to be planner and blue will be builder. The planner starts by drawing 5 tiles from the centre for their team, secretly looking at them. So this is yellow player here. He takes his 5 tiles. As planner for the green-blue team, green is also going to draw 5 tiles. And he'll look at his. Let's think about what yellow's going to do. Now remember, yellow's got his hidden agenda cards here. So let's take a look at them, and let's have a look at the tiles that they've drawn. So we've got this weapon here. Couple more weapons. We have some shields and a little bit of decoration. In terms of our cards, we've got 3 destructive agendas and we've got 4 defensive ones. Before combat begins, we're only going to get to keep 4 of these agendas. Okay, so we're going to have to pick out of the 7, 4 to keep, 3 to throw away. So during the course of building our robot, we may decide, that I didn't get enough engine, so I'm going to throw this one, or I've got tons of armor, so I'm going to keep these two, or our opponents didn't build a robot with much in the way of decoration, so I'm going to get rid of this one. But during the planning and building, you can keep all 7 of these cards in mind with a view to, right, which 4 will I keep? So let's assume that we might plan on keeping this one, and maybe the jelly bones and the decoy here. So we want to build ourselves a ship with lots of armor, and we want to try and give our opponents lots of tiles with decoration. As the planner now, you'll get to keep 3 of these. So let's say we keep this one, and this is a good one, this is a good one. And I want to give 2, so I keep 3 and I give 2 to my opponent. Okay, so as a planner, every turn you're going to keep 3 and give 2 to your opponent. Meanwhile, over on the blue-green team, Green is planning. So Green's got his own set of agendas, and he's quite happy to defend decoration tiles, but he's got this sharp shooter here, which is worth 3 points for every 2 premium tiles that his opponents lose from their robot. So when he's planning, the green player is going to do exactly the same for his team. So he's drawn 5 tiles, he's going to keep 3, give them to blue, he's going to give away 2 to the red player. These are the premium tiles. They have this A and a circle here. So maybe Green will say, alright, well I want to shoot these down off my opponent's robot. I'm happy to give this to the red player for building. Okay, so he gives away tiles to the opponent and keeps some for his teammate to build with. So these tiles go to the red player together with the 3 that yellow plan to keep, and then the 2 that yellow plan to give away, they go over here to the blue player together with the 3 that the green player planned to keep. Now the builder's got to do their thing. So red player, he's got his 5 tiles, 3 from yellow and 2 from green, and their job is to find places for these 5 tiles on their robot. This center tile is the cockpit. This is where your Goblin's going to control their robot from. You can't place any tiles on the cockpit, and nor can you place them on any of these squares that we've marked off with our Goblins at the beginning when we took our blueprint. Now there aren't any rules about what can go where, as long as you don't build on your cockpit or place on any of these squares that you're not permitted to place. They've been marked off. But it's a good idea to keep the metal parts connected. So you can see this tile here is not connected to anything, and that's perfectly legal. You can do that, and that's important because when you finish building your robot, any pieces which aren't connected via the cockpit here in the center, they're going to fall off. Alright, right from the off. So if I turned it around here with this metal touching the cockpit, then that's connected, that's not going to fall off. But when you're building, you can place these anyway. They don't have to be adjacent. There's no rules about where weapons can go. The only rule is that you have to place your tile on an empty spot. Okay, so you can't go about, moving ones that are there and placing your tile. Once you placed your tile on your robot, then it's fixed in position. And of course, while Red is busy building his robot, Blue, as the builder on the green-blue team, will be building his robot. And exactly the same applies. He's got to take his 5 tiles and place them in empty spots. Now the weapons, they've got this red arrow on them. And what you'll want to do is when you're building your robot, you'll want to make sure you've got lots of weapons pointing in lots of different directions, potentially. Because that's going to make your robot a little bit more versatile. Decoration tiles, well, they're pretty useless apart from earning you points. You might want to put these in the middle somewhere where they're keeping everything else joined up. Armor tiles, they protect your robot, and they're good for protecting vulnerable parts of your robot. When you've got a tile here with armor on it, you're going to get a defense token that protects this tile But not only that, if this tile meets another piece of metal, then that defense token protects that tile too, except for the cockpit. So that might be more wise to place that over here. Okay. And once both teams have finished placing their tiles on their robots, then they switch roles. So the blue will become the planner on the green-blue team, and green will become the builder, and then red will become the planner, and yellow will become the builder. So the red player is going to pick 5 tiles, the blue player is going to pick 5 tiles, and then the green player is going to build, and the red player is going to build over here. Okay, so the blue player chooses their 3 and gives 2 to the other team, and now green will do the building. We've got a premium weapon here, and you can see this one points in 2 directions. So I don't know, I might fancy placing this. This one's quite tricky because you know, it's not corner to corner, but it doesn't matter if these things are pointing at other parts of your ship. You know, they still count. Here we have an engine. Engine tiles are good because they keep your robot moving. When we move into the combat phase, you're going to find out that we need engines to rotate our robot. So we're going to continue building. And remember, you can place these in any empty space, but you're not to move any that you've placed or your partner's placed on the previous turn. Now we're going to continue to build our robots. So each player in one round gets to be planner twice and builder twice. So what that means is each player is going to place 10 tiles on their robots. So blue-green here, they finished placing their second set of 5 tiles, and now they're going to swap roles again, grab another 5, keep 3, pass 2 over, grab 2 from the other team, place another 5, swap roles. Alright, so we're going to do that 4 times. So now we've fast forwarded a little bit, and both teams have built their robots. Before we start fighting, there's a few things we need to do. And the first thing is to check that there aren't any loose tiles on our robot that are going to fall off. The green-blue team, well, they've done a pretty good job. There aren't any loose parts. Everything is connected by these metal plates back to, somehow, the cockpit in the middle here. The red and yellow team, well, they didn't do quite so well. They've come a little bit unstuck in this corner here, which is a shame because they're pretty strong weapons, but there's nothing connecting these metal parts back to the cockpit. So these 3 tiles are going to fall off. And we'll place these to one side in what we call the scrap yard. So that's bits of the robot or goblins, defense tokens that fall off your robot during the combat. We can clear all these construction tiles away now. We're not going to need these for the rest of this round. But it is time now for each player to look at their secret agendas and choose the 4 that they want to keep. So let's have a look at the blue player. All he's going to do is pick 4 that he wants to keep here. And feeling confident, the blue player may decide to keep this and bet that he will win. And then, I don't know, maybe blue thinks, well, camouflage might be quite good. You're going to get 2 points for every tile adjacent to the cockpit that survives. Okay, and these are quite solid tiles, so we might keep that one. Alright, and he's got to keep 4 of those. Sharpshooter might be good because the red-yellow player's got quite a lot of premium tiles that are hanging a little bit loose. Alright, so he's chosen his 4 cards. He's going to keep those secret, make sure the orientation stays the way that suggests which way he's betting. And once all players have chosen their hidden agenda cards for the upcoming fight, the next thing we're going to do is deal off 12 cards from the tactics deck. There's 24 cards in here, so we'll have 12 for the first round, 12 for the second round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we'll put these aside for the second round. And these are going to go face down. These tactic cards, these are things that are going to give you special abilities that you can play during each combat round to kind of give you an edge over your opponent. So these are going to be randomised, and we'll see how we can pick them once we we go into the detail of a combat round. So we've got our tactics ready. Next thing, all of our goblins, they're going to enter the cockpits, ready to pilot and battle with our newly constructed robots. We're not quite done yet. The next thing we need to do is place these defense tokens, and we need to place these on our armor tiles. If we look at the green-blue ship over here, remember armor tiles allow you to place a defense token protecting that tile. If they've got metal to metal with an adjacent tile, then that defense token protects both tiles. Okay. So again here we've got metal to metal on this armor tiles, we've got one defense token protecting both tiles. Here we've got a premium armor tile, and that's got two defense tokens pictured on it. So we place two defense tokens across both of those tiles. That's our green-blue robot ready to go. We'll do the same for the red-yellow robot. And you can see we've got one armor tile here protecting those two. And we've got a premium one up here, but it's hitting an outside edge, so we've got two defense tiles protecting just this one tile. Okay, we're nearly ready to go to start knocking some chunks out of each other. Next thing the team's going to do is once more assign different roles. One of you is going to be the pilot, driving the ship, and the other is going to be the tactician, picking tactics. And you're both going to get a go at doing either job, because at the end of each combat round you're going to switch roles. First off, we're going to grab 3 tactic cards, place them face up in the centre. These are the 3 tactic cards that got drawn, and we're looking at them from the perspective of the red-yellow team. The yellow player started the game as the planner, so they're going to start as the tactician. So the yellow player takes the tactician's controller. And what they need to do is secretly choose one of these 3 tactics, and they do that using this controller. If they want to pick the tactic in the middle, they're going to rotate their controller so that the circle is face up. If they want to pick the tactic on the left, they rotate so this arrow is pointing to the left. If they want to choose the tactic on the right, they rotate the controller so the arrow is pointing to the tactic on the right. So the tacticians can only choose one of these 3, and they're going to choose it using their controller. So it's all done in silence again, and they're going to do it secretly. So let's assume I want to take the tactic on the left here. I'll rotate my tactician's controller, and then I flip it face down. Okay. On the blue-green team, the green player started as the planner, so they're going to begin as the tactician. And they're going to do exactly the same thing. So they're going to place their token face down to indicate which of the 3 tactics they're going to choose. For the sake of argument, let's say they decide to secretly choose exactly the same card as the yellow player. As for the pilots, they're choosing their actions at the same time, also secretly using the pilot controller. There's 2 controls on here. There's the steering dial, and there's the targeting mechanism. We use the steering dial to point at the side we wish to attack with. So if we want to attack with the side of the ship that's facing forwards, we point our steering dial. If we want to attack with the right hand side of the ship, then we point our steering dial to the right. So we've chosen to point the steering dial to the right here, so we're going to attack with the right hand side of our robot. Okay, from this perspective, facing our opponents. What that means is when we come to the combat phase, and this little arrow indicates it, our robot is going to rotate anti-clockwise like this. The right hand side of our robot is now pointing forwards. Okay, so that's what the pilot's saying, that when it comes to the combat phase, I'm going to rotate my robot anti-clockwise and attack this side of the robot. The targeting mechanism says which side of the opponent's robot do you want to attack. So if you want to attack the side of the robot that's facing you, you point your targeting mechanism forwards like this. If you want to attack the left hand side of their robot from your perspective, you would turn it like this. The right hand side of their robot from your perspective, you'll turn it like this. And if you want to hit the back of their robot, you turn it like this. Now you'll notice in this little window here, these engines are shining through. Likewise, on the bit here which allows you to turn your robot, there's also engines. And this is the number of engines that you need to make that maneuver. So let's assume that the red-yellow team here chooses to rotate their robot anti-clockwise using one engine and attack the front of the blue-green robot using their targeting mechanism costing 0 engines. They will place their controller like this. And again, we'll keep it face down so it's secret. Okay, so the pilot chooses their actions and keeps it secret. Let's do the same maneuvers for the blue-green pilot. Right, we'll place this face down. So once both tacticians and both pilots have selected their actions, step 3 is to reveal the actions. We'll start with the red and yellow team here, and first thing we need to do is count our engines. We've got 1 engine count here, and make sure that we've actually got enough engines left on our robot to make this maneuver. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 engines, so this is absolutely fine. And we're going to, as per this arrow, rotate. We'll do the same for the blue-green. They've chosen to use 2 engines. We've currently got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 engines on our robot, so that's fine, that's good too. And we rotate. Next, the tacticians reveal their chosen actions. Remember, we've got to flip these in the correct way. So red, yellow, choose tactic to the left, and blue, green chose the tactic to their right, the same tactic. If both tacticians have chosen different cards, they would just take their cards, job done. But in the case here where they've both chosen the same tactic, then the team with the most unused engines gets to pick it. As it goes, blue-green started with 5 and used 2, leaving 3 unused, and red-yellow started with 4 and only used 1, also using 3 unused. If this happens and they both have the same number of unused engines, then both teams get to use the chosen tactic. And these unchosen tactics are discarded from the game. The next stage of combat is to do some damage. This is when the robots get to smash each other. It doesn't really matter who we start with, but the first thing we need to do is count up the number of weapons that we have facing forward. So for the red-yellow team, that is 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 weapons facing forward. And what that means is we get to take 4 dice. There's a maximum of 5, so if we had 5, 6 or more weapons facing forward, we would still only get 5 dice. Alright, we've got 4 weapons facing forward, so we get 4 dice. The blue-green team are going to count the number of weapons they have facing forward. 1, actually it's 1 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're going to get all 5 dice. So I grab these 5. And now both tacticians will simultaneously roll their dice. If they have tactics, some of the tactics, have an effect before you roll dice. That's not the case here. So we roll our dice. Some of these are blank. So the dice has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a blank. So yellow's rolled 1, 2, 3 and 5. Each one of these numbers represents a column on the opponent's robot. What the tactician needs to do now is line up these dice in the order they wish to hit the opponent's robot. In this case it does kind of matter which order we do it because we've got the dynamite. So dynamite says whichever column we hit first we're going to actually hit twice. So the 5 is going to hit twice because of the dynamite. Then 3, then 2, then 1. Let's have the green tactician roll his dice. We've got 2s, 3, a 1 and a blank. Emergency is really good, and this says we can re-roll any and all dice that came up blank. So we'll re-roll this one. It came up blank again. But emergency says keep re-rolling them. So we'll keep re-rolling this dice until it comes up with something other than blank. Okay, we got a 1. So the green tactician is going to line up his dice in the order he wants them to hit. Remember, we're hitting this side. This is column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Dynamite tactic though says the first dice is going to hit twice. However, there is a proviso. If you roll 5 dice, you can't use dynamite. Right. So green tactician doesn't get to use his dynamite. So we're going to line these up. 1, 1, 3, 2, 2. So now let's fire those weapons and start destroying some tiles. This is the fun bit, watching your opponent's robot fall to pieces. Let's start with red, yellow. It doesn't matter which order you do it in. So we're going to go 5, 3, 2, 1. And we're hitting the front side. So it's 5, hitting this row here. So this takes out this tile. 3 hits this row here, so it takes out this tile. 2 hits here, takes out this tile. And then 1 hitting this row here, which takes out this tile. We've hit 4 tiles from the blue-green robot. Now for the blue-green player attacking the red-yellow robots, we're hitting this side. So 1 hits here, destroying this tile. 1 fires down here, hitting this tile. 3 fires down here, hitting this tile, but it has a defense token on it. And what that means is rather than taking out this tile, it takes out the defense token instead. So this gets removed from the red-yellow robot. And this also goes in their scrapyard. Next, 2 takes out this tile. And the last one is another 2, which also takes out another tile. One thing to bear in mind is, let's say blue-green rolled a few 5s. The first 2 5s would have taken out these 2 tiles, but then the third 5, that would have just shot on by and hit nothing, so that would have just been a miss. The other thing is, imagine they had a couple of 3s now, and that's why that defense token was pretty well placed. If we had a 3 now which took out this tile, the second 3, that would hit the cockpit. You would normally remove the pilot goblin, and only once the pilots have all gone would you start removing the tacticians. So although the cockpit is not destroyed, it's still a good idea to hit those, because some hidden agendas are based on the number of goblins you take down. Once we're done dealing damage, the next thing we want to do is check our robots to make sure there aren't any loose parts that are going to fall off. So that's the combat round done, and now we're going to keep playing. We're going to have another combat round, we're going to switch roles, and we're going to do that up to 4 times until we've got through all 12 tactics. Combat between the 2 robots is never going to be more than 4 rounds, and once you're done, then we move into the scoring. The other thing is it could finish before the end of 4 rounds, and that's if all the goblins are taken out from the cockpit. So I've fast forwarded a little bit here, and we've reached the end of 4 rounds of combat, and both players have now got larger scrap piles, and their robots have been substantially reduced. And you can imagine, as the combat goes on, you're going to be losing weapons, you're going to be rolling fewer dice, different tactic cards are going to be coming into play and becoming more important. You're going to be losing engines as well, so your robot becomes less manoeuvrable. And that's the real fun part, watching these robots fall apart. Now we do our scoring, and I'll show you how it works. So assuming neither player disabled their opponent's robot by taking out all their goblins, then the winner would be the team who destroyed the most stuff, or knocked the most stuff off their opponent's robot. So in this case, the green-blue team was the winner. They knocked the most stuff off the red and yellow robot. And as the winners, the blue-green players each get some points, and the number of points you get for winning the combat is 2 for each of your goblin figures in the cockpit, plus 1 for each of your partner's goblin figures left in the cockpit. So in this case, the green player would get 2, 4, 5 points. So his figure moves up the score track 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the blue player gets 2, 3, 4 points. So his score is marked off at 4. And once you've scored for the win, the next thing is each player gets to reveal their hidden agendas and score those. And if you thought knocking the heck out of each other's robots was fun, this bit's pretty cool too. So remember, the blue player bet that they would win, so gets 4 points for this card. 1, 2, 3, 4. For camouflager, they get 2 points for each tile adjacent to their cockpit. Remember, it's a blue defensive one, so the score's on their robot. So that's 2, 4, 6. We lost 2 points here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sandbagger is 1 point for each of these tiles adjacent to the cockpit. So that's a hefty 7 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then finally we have Sharpshooter, but this one's going to score on what we've knocked off our opponent's robots. And we get 3 points for every 2 premium tiles that we've destroyed. So we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Destroyed 5 premium tiles. 3 points for every 2 we've destroyed, so that's 6 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's the blue player scored, and all players will now go do exactly the same thing. And that's it. Once everyone's scored up, you're going to take their revealed agendas, they're going to go back in the box, you're not going to use those for the second round. And then we swap partners, we draw another card to figure out the teams for the second round, and we play again. And then at the end of 2 rounds, the winner is the player with the highest score. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the game. It's a great, fun alternative to something like Galaxy Trucker, and hopefully I've shown you how there's quite a lot of scheming and strategy involved in this game. So look out for Goblins Incorporated from Czech Games Edition. Bye for now.